Okay, thank you so much for doing this. This was so good on so many levels, and the fact that it was adapted and yet it still feels so rich and original, yay. So, sorry. So my question is for Nathan. Well, Henry, who plays Nathan?
You can call me Nathan. I like that. Yeah, let's go for it.
From what you can kind of say and kind of judge is that Nathan seems to be a very emotional and passionate person. And what I was wondering, through the cases and through the murders that he's trying to solve and put together, how is he able to balance that emotion and stay focused on the case?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think it's interesting that you say he is emotional, because I think one of the problems is that he has repressed a whole heap of things going back a very long way. So you have this kind of slightly volcanic effect whereby there's quite a steely exterior, and he is making inroads, and it feels like he is progressing, and it feels like he is dynamic and switched on, and then he's undone by the ghosts of the past and a whole heap of stuff that he hasn't dealt with and hasn't processed. So there's this idea of trauma, that kind of weaves through the whole piece, and the way in which Thalissa's character deals with it, and the way in which Nathan's sorry, I'm not Nathan, I'm Henry. The way in which I deal with it, and the way in which Lucy's character, Lake Edmonds, deals with it. I suppose I can't reveal too much about obviously what happens in the show, but I think at every turn you have to be wondering whether he's going 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back. He is, he definitely has the DNA of a great detective, but is his own lack of self-awareness, is that a superpower, or is it going to be his undoing?
I like that. Good answer. So for Thalissa, I was wondering, you play Emily, wonderful in it. This kind of is more character driven. So what was it in this adaptation that you really loved, that the writers were able to explore more about your characters, and as an actress you was able to dive into?
I think I was very grateful to have a character that was written for someone like me to play it. And that sounds quite obvious, but I think, there's been a lot of things I've done where they've, race hasn't been something that's been innately something that character has had to battle against. And Freddie and I worked really closely together and had a really intimate conversations about what felt right and what felt right to come out of people's mouths and the reaction that she would have. I think Baxter's got something that's, we were talking about this concept of like the British idea of being sort of having to be a bit more protective and closing off perhaps a bit more than what Lake's character is like, as a sort of self-defense. The humor, the passiveness, the sort of sarcasm that she uses to hold back some trauma that has been, not only hers, but that she's seen throughout the police force. Something about the institutionalized racism that is in the very real world that she's in was something that was very important for me to be able to tell. And I think Freddie deals with it very well, because it's not necessarily something that's like overtly there, but just the way that she's seen, or the way that she even perceives herself, and that sort of vulnerability. But then also I just loved the way that she needs Rose's character in a way that goes beyond friendship and possibly something more romantic, but also just this idea that they needed each other to be able to continue in this very hectic life of theirs. And then Lucy, who plays Edmonds, is very new to these 2 other characters. And I think that then they start seeing another layer of themselves unpeel when this character comes in and supplies another option of how to go about things. So I think you see them all at a point of how to deal with the job that they feel like they have a handle on, but they obviously don't.
Lastly, I was wondering, you guys are a team. You mentioned Lucy Hale as well. What do you feel that your character needs from the other character that may be lacking in order to solve cases, and especially this crime? For Henry?
Thalissa's character tethers Nathan to the real world, of rules and consequences and procedure. That is is that fair? Would you say that's fair?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So you need that. I think there's something that's so genius about Nathan Rose that Baxter wishes she could sort of loosen her ties a little bit more and maybe start to solve crime in a more creative way. I think she's so terrified by slipping up, and especially being given this new role of authority, that I don't think she feels like she can sort of veer off piste. But I think there's something that Nathan brings her that's a creativity in her work. Also, I think their friendship is vital to her survival. And I think Nathan is the only person that she feels really hears her and really listens to her vulnerability, and also the only person that she would dare show her vulnerability to. So I think that's very important.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for speaking with me. I truly enjoy the show. Wonderful acting, great adaptation. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching.
No problem.